In order to have coherent conversations with each other, we need to agree on the terms we are using in those conversations. So I need to present my definitions of both the word devil and the word God before I go ahead and explain why I think the devil went ahead and invented the word God. In this conversation, I define the devil as the one who lies. In this conversation, the inherent nature of the devil is not consummate evil. In this conversation, the devil is only the one who lies, whether knowingly or unknowingly. Now, this may seem a rather soft definition of the devil, softer than many of you would like. For many of us, perhaps most of us, the devil is the one who knows what he does is evil and does it anyway. Does it because it is evil. But consider, if the devil tells a lie unknowingly, does that stop him from being the devil? Well, that would be a no. And if somebody is promoting a lie in all innocence because they believe they are promoting the truth, does this mean they are promoting the truth simply because they believe it to be the truth? Well, that would also be a no. In this conversation, the devil is the one who lies, regardless of whether they know they are lying or not. And when I put it this way, you may feel that my definition for the devil is actually too hard. Why should we be calling innocent, well-meaning people who are only confused the devil? What I need to stress here is that here, in this conversation, it is really only the lie itself that is the devil. The one telling the lie simply takes on the role of the devil as they tell it, whether they are telling the lie knowingly or not, and whether they are telling the lie to others or only to their self. Whatever the case may be, they are promoting the lie. They are assuming the role of the deceiver. So this is both a particularly soft definition of the devil and a particularly hard definition, depending on how you look at it. Those of you that feel it is important for us to take the concept of the devil very seriously, and that he should be recognized as a very real and discrete living entity with a personality and specific intent of his own, my definition is going to feel unreasonably soft on the devil and unfairly hard on God's children. This is why it is essential that we make our terms and the way we are intending them clear to each other when we have a conversation. In this conversation, if you want to engage with it coherently, if my definition for the devil is annoying to you, all you have to do is substitute the term the devil with the term the lie or the liar, and you should hopefully be able to get the sense of what I am intending to mean regardless of whether you agree with me or not. So you could read the title of this as Why the Lie / the Liar Invented God. Good. So, what about my definition of God in this conversation? What am I using this word to mean in this specific conversation? In this conversation, I am using the word God to mean the most high and glorious creator of all things and people, who is sovereign over us and withholds his rewards from those who sin. This is a much more wordy definition than that of the devil, and I think that in itself is a particularly noteworthy point. But let's simply accept for now that this is the definition I am using in this conversation. So the title of this piece, Why the Devil Invented God, can be understood to mean, in this conversation, why the lie / the liar invented the most high and glorious creator of all things and people, who is sovereign over us and withholds his rewards from those who sin. And the reason why is, of course, very simple. The lie / the liar invented the most high and glorious creator of all things and people, who is sovereign over us and withholds his rewards from those who sin, for the exact same reason that our physicists invented space-time. And the simple reason our physicists invented space-time is only because they could not conceive of the truth. It is not at all that they did conceive of what is actually true and selfishly decided to lie about it. They could not conceive of what is actually true, and so went with their best guess for explaining why the moon should orbit the Earth rather than falling down. So the simple reason the lie / the liar invented God is only because they could not conceive of the truth at the time. And God was their best guess for explaining why we are here, what it all means, and what we should usefully do about it. And here is the hugely significant thing I wish to highlight here. The truth that the physicists have not been able to conceive of is the same truth that the devil is not able to conceive of. And it is the same truth that none of us have been able to conceive of. And here is the funniest or most ironic thing about all of this. The truth that we haven't been able to conceive of, it is simple and makes sense. While the lies we have used as a placeholder for not knowing the simple truth that makes sense, they are complex and do not make sense. What is this truth that is simple and makes sense, and yet which we have not been able to conceive of all this time, despite the massive powers of creativity and invention we possess between us. Here it is. There are truths that cannot not be true. And so, existence is as it is. Even if there was such a phenomenon as space-time, as physicists have conceived of it, the reason that would be so, if it was so, could only be because there are truths that cannot not be true that make it so. Even if there was such a phenomenon as the Most High and Glorious Creator of all things and people, who is sovereign over us and withholds his rewards from those who sin, as God-believers have conceived of it, the reason that would be so, if it was so, could only be because there are truths that cannot not be true that make it so. And so, if we were able to know these truths that cannot not be true, we would know why space-time is so, if it is. And we would know why God is so, if God is so. We would know what the physicists wish to know, and we would know what the theologians wish to know. Yes? I hope you agree with this, because if you are a physicist who believes in space-time but does not agree that there are truths that cannot not be true, that cause your space-time to be true, then you are believing it for no other reason than that it's the best guess you most prefer. If you are a God believer who believes in God but does not agree that there are truths that cannot not be true, that cause your God to be real, then you are believing it for no other reason than that it's the best guess you most prefer. And here is my point. The truths that cannot not be true, that do cause events that we call orbits, do not cause something impossible and unnecessary called space-time. They cause events that we call orbits. And these things are real. They are just not what we have conceived them to be. The truths that cannot not be true, that do cause us to connect with a higher knowing that cannot help but love us and know more than us, those truths do not cause something impossible and unnecessary called God. They cause us to connect with a higher knowing that cannot help but love us and know more than us. And this is real. It is just not what we have conceived it to be. I am an ancient soul, relative to most of you guys. And me saying this is not me being a narcissistic dick. It's me just being a relatively ancient soul. I'm not being a relatively ancient soul to be a dick. I'm just being a relatively ancient soul because we are here in this realm of relativity, subjectivity, duality. And it is inevitable here that I am older, younger, or the same age as the next person. If I'm younger than you, it's not me being a dick. It's just me being younger than you. And just so, if I'm being relatively older than you, it's not me being a dick. It's just me being relatively older than you. It's all good. It really is. It is good for us to meet people who are younger than us, older than us, and the same age as us. We are the eternal, and we like this. We are the eternal, and we like it that here in this realm of relativity, we can meet people who are relatively younger than us and people who are relatively older than us and people who are relatively the same age. We like it. We like it that we can meet all kinds of people, creatures, situations and things that are all manner of more of this than us and less of that than us. It is a blessed relief for us that this can be so. You can surely see why this would be a desirable thing for one doomed to eternity, that there be an endless potential for variety. I am the eternal, and it does not faze me in the slightest that I meet other men who are also the eternal, who are better looking than me, more talented than me, cleverer than me, and whatever, and so forth. I am the eternal, and I have been in this life, amongst other things, a child who needed to be shown how to use a toilet. How shall I not be glad of this? Was there ever a reason when I was a child being shown how to use a toilet for me to resent somebody else for being older than me? I am the eternal. And if you are more of this than me, and less of that than me, I am supremely glad of it. I cannot express to you just how glad I am of the endless variety of potential that eternity is forever unfolding for me. The perpetual uniqueness of experience that each moment shows itself to be. Without this, my eternity would be a barren hell. And yours too. Hear me. The truths that cannot not be true, that cause all things, they are eternal truths, because they just plain old cannot ever not be. And they iterate relative to each other forever, because they cannot not do that. And their iterating relative to each other, which they have no choice but to do, is mechanistically synonymous with them being conscious of each other. We are the truths that cannot not be true, and must therefore be eternally self-conscious. Our amnesia of this is an amnesia that comes and goes in cycles, for reasons that are both natural and good. The changing physical expression of our experience, the way we cycle through different avatars, different human lives that are always richly unique, more eternal cycles that are natural and good when they are understood. The knowledge I bring here, I am not bringing it here to be a dick. I am bringing it here for no other reason than that I am fit for the purpose of bringing it here, and we want it to be brought here because it does help us with all of the horrible existential angst we have to wrestle with when we do not have it. In bringing this truth here, I'm really just a man trying to fulfill his appointed task as best he may. And I have no problem with my conduct so far. I'm actually feeling really good about myself, and increasingly so. As for you guys, and your appointed task of receiving this knowledge of truth, I have no doubt you'll be showing me the glorious results of your understanding soon enough.